So I was thinking about Kagurabachi today, as one does. Read Kagurabachi already, and I had this thought about what might go down between Chihiro and Samura. So I wanted to hit you guys with it and get your thoughts. All right, so we all know Chihiro's a badass, but we also all know that Samura's more of a badass, right? And in my opinion, there's no way that Chihiro is just going to beat Samura at this point in the story. Which means that there's either going to be someone that shows up to help Chihiro and together they defeat Samura, or there's going to be some sort of de-escalation via the power of friendship, via his daughter coming down, or something in that regard, right? So I was thinking about, what scenario we might see play out, and I remembered one of Enten's abilities we haven't seen in a while, and if that might come into play here. So I'm of course talking about Akka, Chihiro's ability to absorb sorceries and then use them himself. Like I said, we haven't seen him use this in a while, so I thought this would be a really cool opportunity to have it pop back up kind of unexpectedly. Because if he did use it, it would likely be Kumiyori that he stored and copied, meaning we could see Chihiro use play, or more exciting in my opinion, use banquet. I just think this would be a really cool opportunity to kind of subvert expectations and really catch people off guard, because we saw what happened when Double H first used it and we thought that both he and Toto had been killed by Samura, but it was all an illusion, right? But now Double H has been moved off of the board, so that shouldn't even be a possibility anymore. But it would be really cool if something happened and then it was revealed that that was all like a fake scenario that Chihiro had created with Akka. And I do think that if Chihiro has anything stored in his blade with Akka, it has to be either one of the Kumiyori's abilities or one of Tobamune's abilities. And that's because Double H and Samura are the only two people he's fought since reigniting his contract with the Enchanted Blade. Because remember, it was severed when Samura killed him the first time, and he specifically hasn't been using it as to not draw the ire of Samura, who was watching over the city with the owl, right? So he only just recontracted with this thing at the start of this fight here. So I shared this thought with people in the Discord today, and a lot of people started talking about it and sharing their ideas. So I decided I'd make a video to get all of y'all's ideas too. I just think this would be a cool way to kind of have an interesting scenario play out in Chihiro versus Samura, who again, I don't think Chihiro can just straight up beat him. But if he somehow used Banquet to maybe show Samura a different side of his daughter, I thought that would be a cool parallel to what we saw Double H do with Banquet, where he was trying to essentially traumatize Samura with these memories of his daughter. Well, what if Chihiro used the illusions of Banquet to show like how Iori really was and what he learned from Iori in their time speaking to each other in the hotel room before all this happened, right? I mean, it could go any number of ways, right? That would be like a more optimistic way, but it could also be like, I think where we last left it in the chapter, Chihiro is saying like, I drew my sword again to fight you. Like maybe there's like a scenario that plays out where Samura kills Chihiro and then the illusion ends and Chihiro's like, well, I wanted to see if we could get this done without resorting to violence, but I see that's not possible. So let's get it, or something like that. Like, I'm not saying this will happen, but it's a really cool potential, I feel like. But then the other main thing that he could have theoretically stored with Akka, I think, would be the Suzaku, the Phoenix Fire, right? Which that could be like a Deus Ex Machina that comes into play at any point if Chihiro has like a heal tucked away that he could use on seemingly anyone, right? So I think that's also an option, or it could be that he just hasn't used Akka at all. But again, I feel like it would be a cool moment to like remind everybody that he has that power since we haven't seen it in a bit. So yeah, I just had a good time tossing these ideas around today, and I wanted to hear what you guys could come up with as well. So definitely let me know down below. But then I also got this comment here from Branwin, and thank you so much for the support, man. And y'all can pause to read the entire thing, but essentially he's talking about the potential resurrection power of Samura's Phoenix, of the Suzaku, saying that he thinks it could be possible because they keep bringing up this point of how the inner worlds of the enchanted blade wielders essentially allow the impossible to become possible. And I'm totally with you there. I think I even spoke about this in I guess it was the most recent chapter video, how I thought it was a bit weird that Chihiro like made the point of saying resurrection when it was impossible, when seemingly he himself was resurrected by the power. Now, again, there's some like weird semantic stuff there that may be at play, but I certainly think, at least to some extent, resurrection is possible, but it's just kind of where we're drawing the line on what that actually means. But then Branwyn says, the question I have is about Samura's plan, because we've seen him kill or killed Uruha to break the contract. However, he had no qualms about trying to kill Double H because he used Kumiyori. So if Samura's plan was to give the blades to other wielders to kill the Swordmaster, why would he turn around and kill them for using it? So that potential plan never even crossed my mind. I'm not saying that's not what's going on, but if it is, I missed it. I never thought that his plan was to like sever the contract with other people so that he could give the blades to others. I thought he just wanted them said and done with forever. And I think his plan to kill the Swordmaster was just to do it himself. Like, I don't think Samura believes that he needs allies with enchanted blades to take out the Swordmaster. And if anything, he seems just confident enough in his own skills to be able to take the Swordmaster one-on-one, potentially even with the Sanuchi. But also in his mind, it might be that the Swordmaster isn't going to have the Sanuchi, so he'll be easy pickings, right? Because it's Samura with Tobemune versus a weaponless Swordmaster. So it might just be that he's confident in at least winning that version of the matchup. I don't think it'll go down that way. You know, he might meet his end before ever even getting that matchup. But if that matchup does take place, I'm going to assume that the Swordmaster will have this Shinuchi, and we get to see that type of duel, which, if Samura makes it that far, I think that's where he'll die. But yeah, so I don't think that's his plan, but I think, you know, we still don't really know what's going on because we don't really know if Aruha is alive or not. But for my money, I would assume that he is. But you do make a good point about how, you know, we don't know about Aruha, but if he is alive, then Samura didn't kill him, he didn't kill Chihiro, and he didn't kill Double H, which that's the most interesting one to me, because was that intentional? Because, you know, Double H doesn't hold the same kind of like space in Samura's heart that Aruha or Chihiro do, because he has like personal relations with both of them. So even if he intentionally spared those two, I don't think he would be intentionally sparing Double H. But again, why not off with the head instead of the shoulder strike that he's clearly going to survive, right? And maybe he didn't have a choice. Like maybe that's the only wound he could get off in the moment. But yeah, there's still enough kind of interesting things we don't know here to paint this mystery. But for my money, I think he just plans on taking on the Swordmaster by himself and all of the Enchanted Blade Masters, and he's at least planning on sparing the people he cares about. Now, whether that's all of the Enchanted Blade wielders, we can't say, but I think it at least seems like he cares about Chihiro and Iruha, given that like that was his mentee, if you will. But would love to hear all y'all's thoughts on this. And good news is we only got a couple days till the new chapter.